1340 WJOL presents A Rich Conversation with Rich Rennick. No politics, no controversy. Just the lively art of conversation about interesting people in our world.
As our day continues, remember that no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. Hi, hello, how are you? And welcome to A Rich Conversation. My guest today is Betty Hefner. And Betty has a unique story to tell, and one that's extremely important to so many, many families and young people around the world, as a matter of fact, and that is bullying. And Betty, I can't thank you enough for taking time to be with us this morning and talk about your organization. Betty, you have an organization that has a unique name, Hey Ugly.
Hey Ugly, right. Well, thanks, Rich, for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. Hey Ugly stands for Unique, Gifted, Lovable You. Many, many years ago, after 9/11, I was struggling with what I was going to do with my life. I had been in PR for a million years, corporate America, and it was like I wasn't being fulfilled. I wasn't doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing. And as the universe would have it, Sporty King, who used to be on WGN TV in Chicago, contacted me, a good friend, and he said, would you like to come hear me speak to 350 middle school kids at the Chicago Historical Society? And I'm going, my God, I would love it. I never saw him speak before. He's an award-winning speaker. So I go, and he walks out on the stage, Rich, and he goes, I am ugly. U.G.L.Y. ugly. And you could hear a pin drop in the place. I'm sitting there going, oh my God, what did I get myself into? And I'm sitting back by the teachers, and I can hear them kind of gasp a little bit. But then he goes on to talk about how growing up in Harlem, New York, he never felt good enough. He was never as smart as his brother, as good at sports as this guy, that guy, and the other. And he said to the audience, sometimes it was so bad, I almost thought about taking my life. And he goes, how many of you have ever felt that way? And 2/3 of the kids' hands went up. Mm-hmm. And that's when I knew I needed to do something to help these kids out there. Because, Rich, when I was younger, I was contemplating taking my life because I was bullied so bad. At home, I was told I was worthless, I'd never amount to anything, and I was stupid and ugly. So to make up for the fact, and so nobody at school would know those things about me, I became this huge personality. I was a bully. I was a mean girl. I continued to be a mean adult, a mean boss, a mean girlfriend, a mean wife, and I don't know why people stayed around me. It was terrible because I just didn't care and love myself. But as Sporty went on to his speech, he's talked about the fact that he decided to take the word ugly and turn it into something positive, and also take every other negative in his life and turn it into a positive. So he converted it to mean unique, because we are all unique, each and every one of us. Gifted, we all have individual gifts that can benefit ourselves and our friends and our families. We're all lovable, and we're all you, the you, us, we're supposed to be. So the kids just laughed it up. As I'm leaving, these kids are going, I'm ugly. No, I'm ugly. No, I'm ugly. And they had just done something that was just blew my mind. And so that's ugly. Hey, ugly.
Wow. Wow. And your story, Betty, is so inspiring. And when you take a look at the national statistics, in fact, I would imagine if you took a look at world statistics, the amount of children who are troubled as a result of low self-esteem and ultimately do contemplate at some time in their life, maybe it's not worth living. To take that kind of a concept and develop an empathy-building platform where young people can start looking at themselves differently. Talk about how you went about doing that.
Well, it's a culmination of the fact that when I was 42 years old, I woke up, and this is where I went before I went to see Sporty give the speech. And I said I'd only spend the next 42 like the first 42. So I quit a 4-pack a day cigarette habit. I was a workaholic, and I really took a deep dive into something's called inner child work. So I was able to actually go in and heal the kids inside of me that were still in pain and they would sometimes take over. You've ever heard that, somebody else is driving the bus kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And also I found out at the age of 42 years old, I was not in touch with my emotions. None, zero. She asked me, her name was Carol. She's wonderful in Evanston, Illinois. I don't know if she's still there or not, but she saved my life, literally. And she said to me, well, I was having a problem with the relationship. She says, well, how do you feel about the guy? And I go, okay, he's smart. He's creative. He makes me laugh. He's successful. She goes, okay, well, how do you feel about him? And I was like, he's smart. He's successful. I was like, what's her problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, those are thoughts. Those aren't feelings. Give me one feeling about this person. I could not come up with one. So she gave me a list of 100 feelings, and she goes, every night I want you to mark down how you felt today, and then bring them to me next week when I see you. That very first night, Rich, okay, I'm a successful businesswoman, right? Traveling the world for my clients. Big shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
I felt worthless, alone, afraid, and abandoned. I had zero idea I was operating from that place. So having that information helped me to understand that if I was feeling that way, I know there's a lot of other people that are feeling that way, and particularly these kids. So that's one of the foundations of what we do, is helping young people get in touch with their feelings. And we created a deck of cards called Deal, Feel, Heal that have 25 love energy cards, because all emotions can be boiled down to two, love or fear. So we have 25 love energy and 25 fear energy, and each one is has an opposite. And we have 2 wild cards, which are gratitude, because when you're in gratitude, nothing can get you down. You just keep focusing on that gratitude. And we have all kinds of different games, but one of them in particular I like to do is, how did you feel today? And you go through the deck of cards and you pull out all the cards that you felt, which helps you to get in touch with those feelings. And then sometimes we just deal with one particular feeling, like for jealousy, for example. When you're feeling jealousy, what's the fear? Because it's a fear energy. What is the fear? And when you delve into that and you sit down and you go, well, I'm afraid he's going to leave me. Okay, that's something you can deal with and talk about and cure. So anyway, that was one of the first things, getting in touch with your feeling. And then so with us taking the negative, or Sporty taking that negative word and turning it into a positive, because of that acronym, U.G.L.Y, we launched a national acronym contest, and we are going into our 22nd year of having that acronym contest. And we deal with kids from 7 to 17, just so that you know. Take negative words, and it was like loser, hate, racism, things like that. The first year, a girl from Texas, 12-year-old girl, converted loser into love others, show everyone respect. Concept here is we're trying to get the kids to think differently.
Wow.
A 16-year-old boy in Michigan City, Indiana, took stupid and converted it into stop to understand people's individual differences. I mean, these kids have all the answers. They're just really, really amazing. So we did the acronym contest. We do an essay contest every year. And then we added a video contest, a photo contest, and a poetry contest. And it's $100. They win $100 plus a certificate and all kinds of other things. That's the second thing that we did. Then the third thing we did is music saved my life. I don't know about you, but and the key out here is you feel like you're totally alone in your pain, totally alone, totally isolated. So we did a couple of different things as far as the alone is concerned. The first is we started a radio show, which is how you and I met, because we're fellow radio hosts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the radio show is called Choose to Change. And when I was younger and I would hear a song, and the lyrics were like, oh my God, I'm not alone. This person's feeling exactly the way I'm feeling. It was such a relief and such peace that was brought to me. So I literally have a T-shirt. We have a T-shirt called Music Saved My Life, because it did. And so we have kids send us songs with lyrics that could end racism, stop wars, heal the planet, keep someone from committing suicide, because suicide is the second leading cause of young people in America. It is the first reason why is because of breakups, as far as what the coroners are telling us. And the second is because of being bullied. As we all know. I won't go into it in great depth because I don't want to cry on your show. But it is also the reason why school shooters go back into their schools and shoot up and kill their classmates and teachers. So that's huge. That's a huge thing that we're working on to stop the development of a school shooter. Okay, so the steps we did for our foundation was a radio show. And then we came up with these activity plans, and they were titled by educators, Empathy Learning Activity Plans. We didn't even know that we were doing it. But one, for example, is called Slices of Life. And your listeners might want to try this out because I did it and it blew my mind. I was sitting there going, where's my brain every day? Where's my energy going? So I did a pie chart. And when you're working with kids, you might have to explain what pie chart is. But make sure you have actual pie in the classroom. So when they finish it, they get to have a slice of pie, right? Okay, so but you sit and go, where's my energy going on a daily basis? And I did this chart, and it was like, where is it? I got to tell you, 85% of it was on my boyfriend at the time. 85% of it. And the other was like nebulous, mostly work. So I showed it to a good friend of mine. I go, look at this. And she goes, wow. She goes, where are you? I go, I'm not there. She goes, where's your spirituality? I go, it's not there. And she goes, where are your friends and your family? I go, it's not there. So guess what? I made a new pie chart of what I wanted and where I wanted my energy to go. That becomes your standard. And you can look at that on a daily basis, weekly basis. How did I do? How did I do from obsessing about something that's out of my control, not totally that important compared to all the other things that I was missing in my life? And number one, spirituality and you and yourself, because you're that gift that was put onto this earth to be able to do whatever it is you're doing, whenever it is you're doing it. So then we have the activity plans, and those are for families to use and also for educators to use. And that's pretty much how we started.
You're listening to A Rich Conversation. I'm Rich Rennick. The guest today is Betty Hefner. Betty is the founder of HeyUgly.org. It's an incredible organization. It's a nonprofit. And your mission, Betty, is to empower young kids to act on how they feel and how they can feel to fit in. Now, the word empower is kind of an interesting word because I can't empower you. You can't empower me. You can create an environment within which I empower myself. Talk about how you get kids to want to empower themselves to take action.
This is my childhood coming out right now. I think all your listeners too. I hated being told stuff, I wanted to be part of the solution, and that's what we're empowering them to be part of the solution to bullying, substance abuse, suicide, and school shootings. That's our whole thing. Here's what happened. A principal called us, and she said, Betty, I've got these 3 girls that are bullying this one girl so bad she's going home crying every day. Can you come and help? And I go, absolutely. What grade is it? She goes, 6th grade. I go, I don't want to know who these 3 girls are. I want to work with the entire class. And we're going to put them through 3-week program, 1-hour class once a week for 3 weeks. So I went in there and I said to these kids, I go, listen, bullying's really a bad thing all over the world. How would you guys like to be part of solving it for our kids all over the world? They buy in right away. And I go, you guys know what's going on. I'm going to take your wisdom. I'm going to share it in a book. We're going to do some exercises here to be able to, get us centered and all this other kind of stuff. And then we'll market the book to kids all over the world and to schools. And they said, great. So the first thing we ask is, well, let's talk about it. Why do people bully? And they come up with all these answers. It's amazing. And their number one answer is because somebody's bullying them. So very insightful, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's generally what's happened. That's why I bullied. Somebody was bullying me. I didn't know what to do with my pain, so I spewed it out on other people. And then we go through all these different questions, come up with the answers, put them through some exercises, and that's that program. Again, that's empowering them to empower. They're the ones that came up with having National Stop Bullying Month, National Stop Bullying Day, And then later on, we did National Bullying Bystanders Unite Week, which I hope we can talk about a little bit later in the show. Mm-hmm. But I was so excited to be watching an NFL game the other day, and they actually mentioned that it was National Stop Bullying Month, which was October, because it came from these kids. And we've had this since 2011 because of them. And that's part of their empowerment.
The notion of having kids physically there where you can talk face-to-face and work with them personally is much different in many cases today. Back years ago, there was no social media. And now people tend to be keyboard warriors when you can anonymously attack somebody without any fear of any repercussion because you're not next to them. Now with social media and the escalation of bullying, how do you work through that?
I love when people ask me questions because we generally have come up with something to address that. And if you go to Hagley.org, it addresses so many different things. But we came up with, years ago, Cyberbullied Unite, because so many of us have been bullied. So why don't we just join together and stick up for each other? And also a whole list of rules and things to keep yourself safe while you're online and how to report when someone is doing something to you and steps to take when you are being cyberbullied. But to know you're not alone. You're not the only one out there. And let's all join together to turn this thing around by taking steps to do just that. And so we have cyberbullyingunite.com.org, a huge page on our website.
When kids are involved in the cyberbullying thing, often I'm going to guess that it's in school. A big problem, I think, could be that the administration, when confronted with something like this, doesn't know how to handle it.
It's sad that that's still kind of the case. I've seen schools really make some wonderful strides. But yeah, and it's so simple. They can just go to our page and use it. We have curriculum, well, it's not really curriculum, activity plans for the schools to be able to use, very reasonably priced and quite often free for them to be able to use, to be able to help these kids. And to be able to have the safety tips. We work with the police department on a lot of this stuff to develop our tips to be able to keep these kids safe, number one, and number two, emotionally and physically safe. So I can't talk on behalf of the schools other than we keep doing everything we can to get word out about us because we're 100% volunteer, Rich, and we don't have tons of money to be able to go out and advertise and all that other kind of stuff. So the more we can get word out on shows like yours, might be able to get, a teacher or a principal or administrator to hear about us and want to call us. Just pick up the phone and call us. We are here almost 24 hours a day to be able to help anybody that needs it.
Now, being a national organization, Betty, the notion that a lot of kids need to hear this story, and let's just say that schools reach out and say, I want you to come and speak to our assembly. We want to bring the kids together. Looking at the lack of volunteers or not enough volunteers to handle the demand, what's the approach to meeting these requests?
We have a lot of different speakers that we use, and they're young people. I really don't go and speak to the kids because I'm older. And I know that they react better if they have someone closer to their peer age. So, for example, this is a story that is one of my favorite of my entire life. We go into the schools. We did the Stop Bullying program with a local high school. I'll say it, LaPorte High School. And there was a boy there named Victor Vargas. He was one of the kids in the program. Little did I know at the time that he was contemplating suicide. He had been bullied since he was in second grade. He had a gun held to his head when he was 12 years old by a bully, and he held all of this stuff inside of him. And I didn't know that at the time when I was working with him when he was a sophomore in high school. I forgot to tell you, part of the program is they lead a school assembly themselves. So it's a student-led assembly. And we have that a program available to schools all over America. So right there, that takes care of that. Kids learn from other kids quicker than they'll learn from an adult. We've seen that. And he was leading this assembly. Years later, he tells me his story. He also tells me that he has never told the story to anyone. So I convinced him to let us turn it into a book. And there's a book by Victor Vargas is his name, and it is called Almost Bullied to Death. And It is powerful. And the key, Rich, to his whole story is that when he got out of high school, he started working, and he was scared to death that the bullies were going to come into his place of business and make a ruckus and maybe get him fired. And one day, one of them did come in, and he was like, oh, my God, what am I going to do? And he got all nervous. And you know what the bully said to him? No big deal, man. That was in the past. We were just kids. No big deal.
Wow.
So Victor now goes into schools and does assemblies, and he's scared to death of public speaking, because all of those years he kept himself small. He's Mexican-American, and he got bullied because of that. But then some Mexican kids came to school, and he got so excited. But then they bullied him because he was Mexican-American. So he just couldn't catch a break. Anyway, to continue with one of my favorite stories of my life is many, many years later, I give a speech at Purdue North Central to the psychology class every year. And then afterwards, the students come up and they'll say something to me, this, that, and the other. This one girl one year said to me, thank you. You saved my life. And I was like, what? And she goes, when I was 17 years old, I was at LaPorte High School. I saw a school assembly. I went to your website, and it saved my life. These girls, and this is something that's going on that if your listeners don't know, they need to know. We also have a page about it on our website. Kids are telling kids to go kill themselves. This is what they were saying to this girl. Everybody hates you. Nobody likes you. Why don't you go hang yourself? Why don't you jump off the top of the water tower? Everybody hates you. She was going to do it. But after she went to that assembly, and now she's an adult, right? She's in her 20s. She's talking to me at this college thing. And she said the website saved her life. Then shortly thereafter, maybe 7 months, a year later, a 24-year-old woman called me and wanted to know if we needed volunteers. I'm going, yes, that'd be great. She goes, oh, by the way, you guys saved my life. And I said, what? She goes, when I was 17 years old, I was at LaPorte High School, and you did an assembly, blah, 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 blah. It saved my life. She was struggling with gender identification. So Victor, who was suicidal, one of the leaders of the assembly, literally was responsible for being a part of helping to save the lives of two girls. So I got to take the three of them out to dinner, and I just sat back and watched as they conversed and talked about all of that kind of stuff. So we have him going in to do assemblies all over the country. We have a beautiful, beautiful woman. At the age of 13, all of her hair fell out. She has alopecia. And she was suicidal and bullied terribly. Girls put a book in her locker, 100 Ways to Go Kill Yourself. And she is an amazing speaker. She's just been featured in a documentary. She's been on Good Morning America and all kinds of different things because she refused to let that hatred define her. And then the other speaker that we have is a girl who was born to a mom who was addicted to drugs. And she was born prematurely, and she is disabled. And she uses a wheelchair and crutches to get around. And she was bullied terribly because she has a little bit of a speech impediment and all this other kind of stuff. And she decided she was not going to let them get her down. She found out she was good at writing, so she focused on that whenever she started giving those bad messages to herself, which the number one bully out there, Rich, is yourself. We call it self-bullying, and we have a huge page on that on the website. Self-bullying, it's got videos that'll help you not to be mean to yourself. And then guess what? You'll never guess this. She's in a wheelchair, right, and she's using crutches. She loves sport. She rock climbs, those walls. She does archery. She rows a boat. She goes bicycling. She plays golf. She was named this year, it's our first year that we're doing it, Bullying Survivor. And you can go to bullyingsurvivor.com and read her story. It is amazing. She put herself through school. She just got her bachelor's degree. She's in communication, so she wants to be a writer. And she also wants to go in desperately to schools and talk to kids. And if she can do it, and these are the tricks she used, not to let anybody get you down, not to let anybody make you feel you can't do what it is you want to do. So inspirational. So that's how we do it. Yeah, and schools are having assemblies all the time, and we do them all over the United States of America.
Betty, talk a little bit about the social media platform, Bullying Bystanders Unite.
Let me read you something. Research by the Secret Service on school shootings found most shooters were bullied and harassed. So our team said, if the bystanders could be part of stop the development of a school shooter coming to their aid, why don't we do it? We surveyed 6,000 kids, and we asked them, why don't you come to the aid of someone being bullied? And they say, well, we're afraid the bully's going to come after us. And the number 2 answer is they don't want to be a snitch. But this all started back in 2014 or something like that. A mom called us. Her son had been thrown to the ground and kicked in the face by this bully repeatedly, like 20 kids stood around, did nothing. She worked with the police. She worked with the administration of the school. She worked with the principal. She did all sorts of different things. She moved him from one school to another to get away from this bully, to no avail. So she called us to see if we could just help her son with his self-esteem, which we immediately took on. And I'm happy to say that he's still our friend today, and he has gotten over the whole situation, and he's out there trying to help as many people that he can. But that was the development of the Bullying Bystanders Unite program. Since they're saying that they're afraid that the bully's going to come after them, we worked with the police department to come up with ways that you can safely come to the aid of someone being bullied. And all the safety rules are on our website, and we also have an app. So if you see bullying, you can immediately pull up the app. It's called I See Bullying. It'll tell you, are you alone or are you with friends? Is it verbal or is it physical? And then it'll tell you what to do to safely come to the aid of someone being bullied. If we could help that kid to feel accepted, but you see somebody having lunch by themselves, include them. Maybe that kid will then not be carrying that pain anymore.
Betty Hefner, the founder of HeyUgly.org, Unique Gifted Lovable You.
Our mission is to save the lives of young people who are suicidal due to bullying. We're 100% volunteer, so we exist on donations, volunteers, any kind of support out there is so important. And spreading the word about the HeyUgly.org website. On our webpage, very important, we have a whole suicidal question mark section. And we have a page called Why I'm Glad I Didn't Take My Life. And it's videos of young people who were suicidal but didn't take their lives. And wow, their life's so cool right now. And that page has been responsible for saving so many lives. Content on the website's free. Educators, parents, moms, kids.
And it's so easy to get to. HeyUgly.org. My thanks once again to Betty Hefner, the founder of Hey Ugly.
Thank you very much.
Please mark your calendar for 1 week from today for a rich conversation with some interesting people in the world. I'm Rich Rennick. Thanks for making us a part of your day.
I am beautiful, no matter